Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man walah. Amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we have hadith number 64, which reads from Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الله تعالى يغار وغيرة الله تعالى أن يأتي المرء ما حرم الله عليه. متفق عليه. Hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says in this hadith that Inna Allah ta'ala yaghar, which means Allah has a sense of ghayrah. Allah has a sense of ghayrah, not ghirah. The correct word is ghayrah. What is ghayrah? Ghayrah means to have protective jealousy. So like as men, we have protective jealousy towards our woman. That if I'm married to a woman, I do not expect any other man to speak to her or look at her or to be alone with her or to chat with her, be it on social media or in person. Why? Because as a man, that's my woman and I have protective jealousy over her. That if these things were to occur, this would upset me. And this is how we are supposed to be as men. We are supposed to have this protective jealousy over our woman, not just our wives, our mothers, our sisters, and of course our daughters. So when you are raising a daughter, you have this protective jealousy for your daughter, that she's covered up. No strange men are looking at her, speaking to her, chasing after her. As a father, you have this protective jealousy for your child. This is ghayrah. And it's very important that we men have this, because this is how the women folk are protected. And it was Shaykh Albani rahimahullah who said, when the men lost their ghayrah, then the women folk lost their way. Because then the women, they went free. So it's our protective jealousy that keeps our woman, intact as well, inshallah. What does the hadith say? The hadith is Allah has ghayrah. Allah has ghayrah. Allah has this protective jealousy, this trait, this characteristic. And we know every characteristic that's due to unto Allah, we affirm it. If it's in the Quran, we believe in it. If it's in the Sunnah, we accept it. We believe in it. Although لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, he is not like his creation. He is not like anything. So his ghayrah is something different, as befitting to his majesty and his perfection. But the hadith then says, وَغَيْرَةُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. What is the ghayrah of Allah? The ghayrah of Allah is that a person, he comes, a believer, he comes and he does that which Allah has prohibited. He comes and he falls into that which Allah has made haram. This is where the ghayrah of Allah is provoked. This is where that ghayrah of Allah kicks in, where Allah becomes upset. Just like if for example, our women folk men are coming for them or speaking to them or being easygoing with them, we become upset because the ghayrah is provoked. Allah's ghayrah becomes provoked when the deen, when those boundaries that He laid down, when those are transgressed, when they are trodden upon, when we don't care for the haram and we easily go into haram. In this case, Allah's ghayrah is provoked, meaning Allah becomes upset, He becomes angry towards the believer who goes into Allah's muharramat, who falls into those forbidden matters. And this is especially when it comes to matters like zina. Especially when it comes to zina. Why do we say especially for zina? Because there's a hadith that mentions in Bukhari and in Bukhari as well, where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, Ya ummata Muhammad, O ummah of Muhammad, Wallahi, he swore by Allah, Ma min ahadin aghyaru min Allah. There is nobody that has more ghayrah than Allah. Nobody that is more protective, has more jealousy for this deen especially than Allah. And then he said, أَنْ يَزْنِيَ عَبْدُهُ أَوْ تَزْنِيَ أَمَتَهُ. Especially when his slave, male or female, they commit zina. This angers Allah to another level. This angers Allah to another degree, where his ghayrah is provoked. So zina especially, that when we fall into adultery, when we free mix and we fall into, of course, zina has different levels and types. The worst form is zina when we commit illegal sexual intercourse. When this happens, it's a major sin. And Allah's ghayrah is provoked even more. Then this hadith ends off by saying, Ya ummata Muhammad, O ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Wallahi, by Allah, لو تعلمون ما أعلم. If you knew that which I know. The Prophet is saying to the people, to us, if you knew what I know, meaning, if you knew how Allah becomes angry, if you knew what's going to happen on Qiyamah, if you knew how Allah is going to punish certain people, if you knew about Jannah and Jahannam, if you knew what I know, لَضَحِكْتُمْ قَلِيلًا وَلَبَكَيْتُمْ كَثِيرًا. You would laugh very little and you would cry a lot. لَبَكَيْتُمْ كَثِيرًا. You would spend much more time crying than laughing. If only but you knew. And again, this is the importance of seeking knowledge, learning, because this is where we start to fear Allah Azza wa Jal. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. As Allah said, the only people who really fear Allah are the people of knowledge. People who have knowledge. The more you increase, the more you realize the reality, the more that fear and taqwa and khashya of Allah Azza wa Jal kicks in. Muraqabah. This is our chapter where we feel that Allah is observing us when we are observant of Allah and His laws. We would cry a lot and we would laugh very little. Wallahu a'lam. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.